2 years ago, almost, in one of my trips to Israel, my fourth, to preach a retreat to our theologians in Ratisbon, when I reached the desk of the immigration person, he immediately spoke to me in 3 languages. First, he spoke to me in Italian, and then in Spanish, and then in French. And then he wanted to speak to me in German, and I told him right off, I don't speak German. I'm telling you this because he impressed me a whole lot, because he knew his trade. He knew the people who were trying to enter Israel, and he had in his computer screen a lot of details about me. At the end, he said, "Father, this is your 4th time in Israel, so what brings you here for the 4th time?" And then I said, I was invited by Ratisbon Monastery, Salesian Monastery, and that's it. I'm telling you this because Mathew probably spoke several languages because he had to know his trade. He was collecting taxes for the Romans, and obedient to the Romans that he was, he probably added more to what the Romans were asking for. And he probably spoke a little Latin apart from his koine, which is the Greek, that was the lingua franca at the time. But since he had to deal with fishermen and all the business revolved around Lake Galilee, then he had to speak Aramaic and probably knew Hebrew too. So he knew his trade. He was a brilliant man, and he was a mathematician. He knew how to add immediately mental math because his job was to collect and to add. I'm telling you this because the Lord has an eye for those exactly like Mathew. The Lord has an eye for you and me, because if you get down to basics, when you really get back home and sit down and reflect about you, what do you have? Who are we? What do I have that I have not received? And at the end, if we are honest to ourselves, we don't deserve all of everything that we have and enjoy right now. No one deserves to be a priest. No one deserves to be here. But God has an eye for sinners. God has a compassionate eye for those who are erring. Mathew was a sinful man, and Mathew invited the Lord for a dinner. And the publicans and Pharisees who knew everything, the value of everything and the value of nothing, like Judas, started talking. Why does he sit down with sinners? And this is who we all are. Sometimes, repeatedly we are being accused of meddling with politics. But the church has no police power. The only power we have is the power of the gospel and the power of persuasion. And it is powerful if people are willing to get off the teloneum, the receiving table, that is the tax collector's table, and begin to reflect. And this is what Mathew did. When the Lord said, "Follow me," follow has to do with listening. Obedience is ob audire. First, you listen, and then you obey. And Mathew got up to follow him. You see, nowadays, life is no different from the times of Christ. Mathew was working for the Romans, but our government leaders now are working for China. And it's the same banana. It's the same corruption. It's the same disloyalty. It's the same sin. And we are all sinners like Mathew, where we need the church. And this is why the church goes on, doing prophetic criticizing and prophetic energizing, because this is our only role. We cannot run the country the way politicians do, because that is not our role. But our role, through the power of persuasion, is to rouse ourselves to an awareness that becomes an attitude that becomes a virtue, and virtue that blooms into action. So, get up from that teloneum, listen, and do. And Mathew today is our model.